So the future of Cyberpunk 2077 is obviously uncertain after its disastrous launch, but people are certainly hoping that it can make some kind of comeback, and there are plenty of people wondering, what does the future look like? We do have patch 1.2 coming up, and CD Projekt did release this kind of very vague roadmap, but there's this new leak that might give us some hints as to what additional content we can expect. Some of those free DLCs, as well as potential expansions. And while there aren't a whole lot of details, apparently somebody unearthed some listings in the Epic Games Store that may give us some clues as to what we can potentially expect. Now, this is rumors and speculation. I cannot 100% verify the validity of this leak, but it looks compelling enough that I felt it was worth sharing with you folks out there who are hoping that Cyberpunk 2077 will eventually achieve its full potential. So, this was originally posted on Reddit, but the post has since been removed, and I'm not 100% sure why, but this is the internet. You cannot really remove something from it once it's already uploaded, and so some people have managed to get some screen grabs, and so let's take a look at that Reddit post right here. So, this is what this user relayed in terms of how they managed to discover this information, and this is what user Prickly Assassin had to say. Huge info on upcoming content. Preface, I originally found out about this information in February, but I didn't make most of the news fully public till now. Time for the juicy stuff. Back in February, Epic Games Store, abbreviated to EGS, changed the total allocated server capacity for Cyberpunk 2077 from 100 gigabytes to 500 gigabytes. Epic Games Store usually prepares their servers months before release of new updates or content. For example, Epic Games Store prepares Fortnite updates 2 to 4 weeks ahead of release. I also found some info on upcoming DLCs. Back in February, there were 18 free DLCs listed on Epic Games Store. However, some of them have been removed earlier this week, reduced to 10 free DLCs. 3 paid DLCs were added this week. However, no details on names or exact prices are available yet. This is the list of DLCs, we'll get to that in a bit. 2 of these free DLCs have similar names with 2 promo videos uploaded to the Cyberpunk 2077 channel before the release of the game. I think these 2 DLCs were originally planned to release as part of the base game, however the devs didn't have enough time because leadership wanted to rush this game out in an unfinished and unpolished and technically flawed state. I found all of this information by myself, please credit me if any of this info is used. So alongside this leak and explanation as to how this individual managed to procure this information, we actually did get some screenshots as additional proof, and you can actually see the names of the DLCs or the alleged DLCs that CD Projekt supposedly has planned for this game. So let's go one by one and maybe gauge what they may potentially bring to the table. And by the way, the reason it's speculated that this is going to be free DLC is because A, CD Projekt did say that they're going to model Cyberpunk after Witcher, in the sense that they're going to release a bunch of free mini DLCs alongside a number of paid substantial expansions. And you can also see that the prices are listed as $0 for all of these. Though I guess you never know, maybe some of these are placeholders, hard to say for sure. But anyway, let's take a look at the names of these DLCs and speculate what they might be about. And I should emphasize, nothing is confirmed about these alleged DLCs. This is purely speculation and wishful thinking, what I hope these will be based on the names, but I have no idea if these will deliver. So first up, we have Ripper Docks expansion, which might give us additional cyberware that will further allow us to enhance our characters in different ways and potentially give us new Ripper Docks on the map that may give us those additional enhancements. There's an expansion called Body Shops, which might potentially allow for the modification of body parts. That was certainly something that was sorely missing from the game, the ability for players to really live that cyberpunk fantasy and do what they want with their bodies on both a cosmetic and functional level. This next expansion is called Fashion Forward, which, obviously will likely focus on fashion and attire and what you can wear. And hopefully this will be the thing that will give us, some transmog elements that will allow us to equip the armor that we want while also being able to modify the look of them. And if they're able to add additional clothing varieties alongside such a feature, then even better. Next up, we got something called Gangs of Night City, which seems pretty self-explanatory. I guess the intention is to add more gangs, and I wonder if with that comes new quests, or if it's just kind of more on the street level and what procedurally happens within the game world or something along those lines. Then we have what's called Body of Chrome, and in the world of Cyberpunk, Chrome is a terminology used for modifications that are more about style rather than substance or functionality. So Body of Chrome might further enhance your ability to kind of give your character and his or her various features a certain level of panache. Then we have Rides of the Dark Future, which obviously will focus on vehicles, potentially adding more types and maybe offering additional customization options. You know, people would certainly love to modify every aspect of their vehicle, and if this DLC can offer that, that'd be really neat. Then we have the Relic, which sounds very, I don't know, potentially story-based. The Relic is obviously the immortality chip in Cyberpunk 2077 that is at the core of that narrative. I wonder if this DLC will further extrapolate upon that, or if it's some feature that I just can't quite think of. Is it related to Johnny Silverhand, who is in the Relic that V has in his neck? Like, I don't know. It's hard to say. The details are too vague. Neck Deep and Night City expansion. Now, obviously, it's hard to gauge exactly what these two are, but Night City expansion seems to aim to expand the elements of the open world itself. So maybe like a subway system that was kind of promoted in the marketing but never made it in the final game, among other elements that are currently missing or kind of feel unfinished. A better police system that actually feels like it isn't just some basic spawn system where police don't even come in via vehicles. No idea what Neck Deep could be. Maybe an additional quest or two, or maybe some additional items, weapons, I have no clue. And to close things off, we have these 3 additional listings that offer no details whatsoever. I suppose these are the most recently added, and one popular theory is that these might be placeholders for 3 paid expansions a la Heart of Stone and Blood and Wine. That is certainly a possibility, though I imagine that if these are indeed those expansions, we're not going to see them for a while, given that CD Projekt has to focus on fixing the base game first and implementing numerous systems and features that feel incomplete or not implemented at all. No doubt CD Projekt's roadmap for Cyberpunk 2077 has been significantly delayed because of launch woes. But it'll be interesting to see what kinds of expansions there'll be, how they'll expand the story, and how they'll expand the content and the features and the various systems. Though it's hard to say for sure, and keep in mind that all of this is kind of in flux. Maybe it'll change down the line, but it does offer a potential glimpse at the kinds of things we might see with future content updates. Not gonna lie, a lot of this stuff sounds like things that just should have been in the base game. It sounds like this is stuff that, you know, leadership should have given developers an extra year or two so they could work on all of this and have it there on day one when the game launched. But I am keeping my fingers crossed. I wouldn't declare Cyberpunk as a dead game quite yet. I'm not saying the future is certain. I'm not saying that we should be hyped for the future. Be cautious about Cyberpunk and CD Projekt in light of how leadership handled the game's launch and in light of marketing elements that were certainly far from ideal. But if this game can come back, that would be amazing. And people often ask me, what's the difference between something like Anthem and Marvel's Avengers versus Cyberpunk? You know, I wasn't particularly optimistic about the future of Anthem or the future of Marvel's Avengers. Whereas with Cyberpunk, I am at the very least keeping a little bit of hope. The reason being that I actually did have a good time with Cyberpunk. The stuff that was completed and the stuff that did have substance was really good stuff. I had a lot of fun with this game overall. you know, except for when the game kept getting in the way of itself. The quests, the characters were fantastic. The gameplay for me was satisfactory, though obviously not to deny the technical issues that kept getting in the way of the experience and the incomplete gameplay features, systems, and elements. But unlike Anthem and Marvel's Avengers, which bored me just from top to bottom in terms of story, characters, gameplay loop, objectives, level design, missions, you name it, Cyberpunk 2077 did have plenty of bright spots for me, with the quest and the campaign and the characters and all of these different things. I was overall very entertained by Cyberpunk, and I do see that gem underneath all that rubble. It's up to CD Projekt Red to remove all that rubble and to make that gem shine as brightly as possible. Whereas with Anthem and Marvel's Avengers, nothing about those games stand out. Cyberpunk does have some standout elements that just need a better foundation, a better ground that this game just didn't have because developers didn't have enough time to really flesh all that out. With all that said, though, again, the future is ultimately uncertain. I'm not recommending that you get excited again for Cyberpunk, that you start, you know, forgetting all of the launch issues and all of the manipulations that CD Projekt and deceptions that CD Projekt engaged in. What I am saying is, here's a glimpse of maybe what's to come, and hopefully this stuff will really enhance the game in the ways that it needs to be enhanced. And hopefully by the time we go through this journey, assuming CD Projekt sticks with it and does a good job with it, there will be a light at the end of that tunnel. But only time will tell. You know, I really don't know how things will pan out. Nobody really does. It's up to CD Projekt to right their wrongs. But that's just one man's take. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this leak. Do you think it's legitimate? And if so, based on the names, what do you think we can expect in terms of additional content and features? And do you think it'll be enough to salvage the game once all of the DLCs and expansions are released? Which is ultimately, what are your prospects for Cyberpunk? Drop a comment, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.